Strongly in the media, how they're turning facts on their heads in relation to Ukraine in particular. So obfuscation is the name of the rule for the bourgeoisie, because that's in their interests. In the working class interests, clarity, understanding is what we need. And Marxism alone, Marxism and Leninism gives us that understanding. But only the party can bring it to the working class. Now, there are lots of forces working against that. The bourgeoisie are very, very skilled at undermining any spark of revolutionary understanding or activity on the part of the working class. And in England, or in Britain, we have an extremely experienced bourgeoisie. I mean, the bourgeoisie really dates from the time of the Reformation, and it's only got experience over the years. And since the industrialisation, still you've got a couple of hundred years, more than that, for it to get used to managing an industrial proletariat. So we have an experienced bourgeoisie that we're up against, and we mustn't underestimate their power. And back in the 60s, when I first joined the movement, or became involved, became aware of it even, the activities of Khrushchev were still very recent. And the revisionist forces, the old communist parties that followed meekly along, were still very strong and numerically very strong. And of course, the Trotskyists were immensely emboldened and strengthened by Khrushchev. They had it in common, didn't they? They both vilified Stalin. So they were the strongest force in the movement in the 60s. But they were anti-revisionists, but we were scattered in not just a few, dozens and dozens of little groups. If any of you have seen that wonderful film, The Life of Brian, you'll remember the scene in the amphitheatre, yes, where you have about 5 people, 3 there, 2 there, and I'm going to misquote. I know you're going to say to me this is the wrong name, but you get the feeling. One is saying, we're the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. No, we're the People's Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Splitists! That was actually the accurate reflection of the working class movement at that time. The organisations were very small. Now, back in the 60s, there was an attempt to form a Communist Party of Britain, Marxist, Leninist, I think it was. No, that wasn't the same. Communist Party of Britain, Marxist-Leninist, I think. So organisations, including ones that I was involved with, came together with trade unionists and others. And the spirit was there, the will was there, but it didn't work. Why didn't it work? There was actually no theoretical understanding of what was revisionism, why it had become dominant, what was the situation in Britain at that time, or in the world even, what were the class forces in Britain. There was no theoretical analysis or understanding on which to base any policies. So it's not enough just to have the will, the emotional desire to have a party. It's got to be founded in study in Marxism and Leninism. And our speakers today have been in the forefront of that work, to do the theoretical work and provide the basis on which the party was formed 16 years ago? 18 years ago. I knew I'd get it wrong. And that was why our party was able to survive 18 years. That one didn't even survive 18 months. It wasn't enough just to have the emotional desire for it. You have to have a solid basis for it. So the theoretical basis, and then on top of that, democratic centralism. And that is very precious. We have faced during those 18 years a number of situations where difficult issues have come to the fore in relation to the movement in this country. So Scottish independence, ID politics, I'm sure there are others. Brexit, thank you. Immigration, yes. 9/11. All of these had to be discussed in depth amongst the party members, brought to a Congress, thrashed out of the Congress in relation to under various resolutions and counter-revolutions. It was never never a case where there was just one line and it was perfectly obvious to everyone from the outset. No. So in the end, as a result of that process, a policy was formed, and then that was a critical crunch. At every point, some people left. They couldn't stomach the policy. Others understood that even if they disagreed, like our beloved Deborah, didn't agree with, I think it was independence, I think Scottish independence? Immigration, one of them anyway. But she realised it was more important to stay with the party and work with the party and help grow the party. And in the end, I think she was convinced. But convinced or not, the fact is she understood the importance of democratic centrism. Now, what we have faced at the moment is opportunism and liquidationism, basically united in a single trend. And we have to survive and we have to grow and we have to strengthen ourselves after that. But it's not new. Back in the 60s, there were comrades I was working with, or we were working with then, thought the only thing to do, the only way to be a proper communist, give up their jobs, get a job working in a factory, on the factory floor, and that was the only way they could be a communist. And of course, that is really worshipping spontaneity, because it's saying you have to be a worker. So the question of working class ideology was secondary to them, in a sense, to worshipping, in a sense, the working class in its existing form, being part of it in its existing form. Well, we wouldn't have Marxism if Marx and Engels just decided we can't possibly be part of the bourgeois intelligentsia. We have to go and work on the factory floor. They'd have had no time, no capital, no energy, nothing. Wouldn't have happened. So we have to look at the essence, not at the form. And there was also a lot of people at every stage as this happened. Do not talk about proletarian internationalism. Do not talk, or the dictate of the proletariat. Do not use the word proletariat. People don't understand it. The thing is to get the working class, the advanced working class, to understand it. Not to condescend, not to say, oh, they're too thick. As our speakers have so brilliantly illustrated, as Lenin was saying, way back, exactly the same things that we need to think of now. And well, I don't need to add anything on liquidation because it's been said and we all know what the situation is at the moment. But we have to understand the importance of theory and we have to fight to keep and strengthen our party, because that is the only hope, not just for us, but for the working class. And the working class so desperately needs a proletarian revolution. If you look at all the disasters around us, in every sphere of life, we need the proletariat to take charge and substitute for this market economy rampant exploitation of people and the environment with a planned economy. There's no third way. It's a hard road, but it'll be worth it when we get there. Thank you very much.